Hello, contrarian capitalists. I believe that means I'm now live. Hello, good day to yourselves, wherever you are in the world. Plenty going on over here in Mexico, and we shall have a look around the markets in a bit. We will do that. A couple of sort of personal updates and what's been going on this week so far. So, first of all, there have been a couple of podcasts recorded this week. The first was with Patrick Kareem, who's the co-founder of North Star Bad Charts. We focused on gold, silver, and we touched on oil as well. Now, his business partner, Kevin Wadsworth, was on the podcast a month or so ago, and we'd spoken about the capital rotation event. I made sure with Patrick that we spoke about different things. So if you have watched and listened to the episode with Kevin Wadsworth, when the episode with Patrick Kareem comes out to everyone, we do cover different content. So we don't go over the same information. That podcast is available at the moment to paid subscribers, will be available to free subscribers tomorrow. I've also had a bit of feedback from a different podcast. So I recorded last night with the Macro Butler, and we spoke about a whole range of things. We looked at Asia, we looked at the news in Asia and what's going on over there, and then we also touched upon what apparently is a touchy subject of what happens if one of the three key leaders in the world, so whether that be Trump, Xi, or Putin, what if one of them dies? Now, obviously, we don't wish that happens, but it was a question that was raised, and it got us thinking. The point on that being that, again, that episode's out to pay subscribers at the moment. I've had a bit of feedback from that, saying that we were quite divisive with what we were talking about, and that we shouldn't treat Trump as a warmonger. That being said, pass judgment for yourselves when you listen to the podcast or watch the video. I don't think we were calling Trump a warmonger. But if it comes across like that, again, please do let me know, and I'll make sure that I do better to articulate things moving forward. I always value all feedback. Obviously, great feedback. Good feedback is very nice, but I'm always happy to receive negative feedback as well, because it helps me to learn and improve. So what I would say is, if you listen, or when you listen to the podcast or watch the video, if you get the same thought and you think that we are accusing certainly Trump of being a warmonger, I would like to say that's not the case. I don't think that's the case. But as you, the listener, I'll let you pass judgment on that. Again, that episode's out for paid subscribers at the moment. Will be out to all other subscribers next week. Talking of next week, I will actually be away for a wedding next week, so I'm going to pre-prep a couple of written posts. I'll probably chime in and do a video as well. But the monthly wrap and the week, the commodity wrap, market wrap, all of the newsletters will come out as usual. But yeah, apologies if I do seem a bit inactive next week, away for a wedding for a few days. One of the headlines you'll see, I put this down as Plan C, and the reason for that is that for those of you that do know, you would know that I'm a citizen of the United Kingdom. You'll also know that I have residency in Mexico as well. And as of yesterday, I've started the process for obtaining residency down in Paraguay as well. So I'll do my best to document everything. There's multiple reasons for that. For those that are not familiar with Paraguay, I'll hold my hands up and say I have been there before. It's, from what I remember, it's a very nice country. Now, that was back in 2014. But if you look at Paraguay at the moment, it's got a very favourable tax rate. So in the country, if you earn country within Paraguay, it's 10% flat tax. If you are a tax resident of Paraguay and you are earning foreign sourced income, so i.e. anything that is not produced in Paraguay, then the rate on that is 0%. So it's a very strong tax play at the moment. It's also a country that has an abundance of food. It has an abundance of water. So all these key natural resources that might become contentious moving forward, Paraguay has that. Our population is about 6 million last time I checked in. And again, because of the Itaipu Dam and the water levels that it sits on, water's not a problem for Paraguay. And again, food, because of the meat and the amount of land that it has in order to produce food, food is not an issue either. So it does have water security, food security, energy security, because of that massive hydroelectric dam, a Taipu Dam up in the northeast of, or it might be the east actually, of Paraguay. And the other thing, apart from the tax, is that at the moment, the residency process, number one, it's quite straightforward. Secondly, you don't have to prove any income or things like that. Thirdly, is that you are required to spend, I think it's 1 day in the 2 years of temporary residency. And even if you then become a permanent resident, you have to spend 1 day every 3 years there. So I don't know what's going to happen next year. We might end up moving to Paraguay. I don't know. But certainly from a tax residency point of view, that's why that button has been pressed. So that for me is my plan C, but it will be a tax home as well. And yeah, we'll probably move up there or down there in the future. I will document as best as I can as I go along. I will keep you updated with what's happening, which service provider we're using for that process, and how everything goes. And again, as always, if I can help with any information, any advice, or to have a chat or anything like that, do feel free to direct message me on Substack. I'll do what I can. My job here is to help as many people as I can. And I like to think that it's not just a case of talking the talk, it's walking the walk as well. So yes, there's a new residency that will be in process, and we'll get that done, and I'll keep you up to date with what happens. All of that being said, let's just have a quick look around. Let's have a quick look around the world. Loads of different things happening. Apparently, a Ukrainian's been held in Italy over the Nord Stream gas pipeline blast mystery. I think for those are in the know, you're probably going to put it down to one of two countries that destroyed that pipeline. One being the United States, or more than likely, it would have been the United Kingdom. Whether we ever get to the bottom of that, I don't know. But interesting timing that a Ukrainian has been held in Italy over the Nord Stream gas pipeline blast. Russia and Ukraine, I'm not going to say it's old news because I appreciate people are out doing service and whatever. Obviously, the meeting between Trump and Putin last week seemed to go okay. They both came out as expected, looking like they both, won. What happens from here on there, I don't know. I would again urge you to listen to the podcast from Macro Butler. We do discuss that Europe needs, I think, or wants a hot war. We don't just say that and to be blasé. We believe that because of what's happened in recent times and financially over there, that it is what they will want moving forward. And I think that the EU will try its absolute best to create a hot war, whether people want it or not. And the overarching theme, apart from doing some game theory with what happens if one of the leaders passes away, is to say that Plan B at the moment is very important. The Macro Butler's based over in Asia. I'm based over in North America. We're both from the continent of Europe, and it's not too late for Europeans to make a move and get a Plan B. And that was the overarching point of that episode yesterday. What is likely to happen and what we're seeing is, we have seen capital controls started to come in Spain. We have seen talks in the UK about utilising pensions for defence spending. Of course, defence spending across the EU, not every country, but most countries will go up to about 5% of their GDP. Now, how do you fund that? Well, you fund that by printing a bunch of currency, or you utilise the current assets that you've got. If you go down the pension route, then again, you could be locked in with a pension that's then funding defence spending. And if you don't agree with that, then you should look to exit the system. So all of these things are coming in, and you don't see them reported in mainstream media a lot because they don't want you to know. They don't need you to know. If you've never read The Great Taking, I highly recommend you do. I'd highly recommend you have a stiff drink with that because it's quite a a sombering thought, but again, the protocols are in place for the absolute theft of everything. And again, it's quite stealthy. What I would say on all of that is, again, it's a joy and a pleasure and a privilege to be able to do the contrarian capitalist, because it's not just gold, it's not just silver, it's not just plan B. Yes, I think they're the main components at the moment. It's about helping. So I always say that as long as someone, hopefully it's you, as long as someone goes away and they take action from all the videos, all the writings, all the podcasts, all of these sorts of things, and it changes your life for the better, that's the greatest honor that I think could happen on the channel. Really, this is about getting the message out to as many people as possible, telling people that it's not too late to prepare and do these things. Yes, I can be a bit of a doomsdayer in day to day. I try not to be, but I am a little bit. I'm a little bit of a prepper, to be fair. That being said, this is about helping. So if you are yet to take a position in physical gold, if you are yet to take a position in physical silver or physical platinum, maybe you might want to buy some land as well, completely up to you. These are not financial recommendations. I would say that history has shown us time and time again that when the proverbial hits the fan, times will get rough and governments and people in general will go to all sorts of extremes. Do not be one of these people, please, that has the opportunity to do something about it, then doesn't do something about it, and then you regret that for the rest of your life. Again, my job is to just try and educate as best as I can. I'm not here to make financial recommendations. I'm always happy to share what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I want to be open from that point of view, which is why I've mentioned Paraguay and Plan C today. But also, it's a duty and an honor to be able to do this. So yes, physical gold, physical silver, physical platinum, a land if you want as well. Again, not financial recommendations, but if you are yet to take a position, please at least start reading, do some homework, and then take action. Especially if you're in the continent of Europe, things are going to get worse. I I don't like to say that just to be hyperbole. I think they will get worse. And again, it's not just capital controls in Spain. We're seeing that governments are starting to look at pensions. Governments are starting to tax more. I mentioned a few weeks ago the Laffer curve, and I mentioned it again on a podcast I was actually interviewed on the other day. That again, the curve sort of goes up like that. So if you have zero tax or 100% tax, that does not work. It's not functional. The Laffer curve is the relation between tax levels and the amount of taxes generated, or the tax received by the government. So if the curve goes up like that, you're going to have a point here and a point there where you are going to get the same amount of revenue, and you're going to have two different tax rates. I don't know who, obviously the BBC have never heard of a Laffer curve because they have never mentioned it in any article that I've read. But I'm also wondering if Chancellor of the Exchequer or any financial people that are in government positions in and around the EU have heard of a Laffer curve, because the answer at the moment seems to be we need to tax more. And you and I both know that's not the answer. You need less tax. You need to do like Singapore done back in the day, have a flat 15% rate. I think they have. They might still have it actually. You need to lower taxes. You need to stimulate what's going on in the economy. But you can include any country in this. But the answer is not taxing people more. And we're not going to speak about the socio-economic challenges that we currently have in Europe or the UK. The point being that if you can see what's coming down the road, capital controls again in Spain, government's looking at pensions. And if you are in a position where you have one passport, you have one residency, you have one location, and maybe you've got a pension as well, and maybe you've just left it, or you've left other people to manage it, then you are at the very risk of what I think governments are trying to do, which is to steal, for want of a better word, everything from your back pocket. Which again is why I always go back and will always say gold, silver. For me, two places to be on a physical level, as in have the physical gold, have the physical silver. Store it around the world if you want. Maybe you want to have something in your own home. It's up to you. Platinum's a good play as well. Commodities will likely be a good play moving forwards. Inflation is not going to go down anytime soon. We've seen that recent inflation rate in the UK was 3.8%. We saw PPI, CPI numbers come in hot recently in the USA as well. Inflation is not going to go away anytime soon. And if governments are spending and they're spending more, etc., 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 then ultimately, they're going to have to find that cash from somewhere. And it could be from your savings, it could be from your pensions, it could be from just printing more currency. And of course, if you then go down the currency printing route, what will happen from there is that inflation will come back. Things normally take 18 to 24 months to work through the financial plumbing of the economy. So if you know that the Federal Reserve or the Bank of England, whoever it is going to be printing in due course, then that is going to, I think, have a massive impact moving forward. I'm just Googling the Jackson Hole meeting. I just want to make sure I get my dates right. So yes, the Jackson Hole meeting started today, 21st of August, goes on till the 23rd of August. I will likely react to a bit of that in the commodity wrap, if not the market wrap. And then if I don't do that, because I'm again traveling to go away for a few days, I will do a video next week to have a look at the Jackson Hole. Basically, it's an economic symposium. Jerome Powell's going to be there, and the Fed will be talking. And normally, markets like to have a bit of a move depending on what is spoken about and what is mentioned at Jackson Hole. So that's probably the key thing from what's happening this week. Going back to the point of gold and silver, again, if you know that whether it's the Fed, Bank of England, wherever you are in the world, if you know that they're going to start printing, you know that inflation is going to come down the road quite quickly. Again, 18 to 24 months. This is why I say that it's not too late to have an allocation to physical metals. It's not too late to get looking at land, and it's not too late to have a plan B. And they don't have to be expensive. You can get them quite cost effectively. Maybe you've got ancestry in a different country. Just because you are looking potentially to move away from where you are, you might not even want to move away from where you are, but having the opportunity to do so is going to be very valuable. I spoke about this last week as well, and that is if we do get to a state where there's hot war in Europe, because for whatever reason, then given the way that the governments or some governments are thinking and leaning and acting at the moment, don't be surprised if the word conscription comes up. And for me, I'm okay with that. Thank you. I'm not for me. That is definitely not for me. And again, I don't want that to be for you either, unless it's something you want to do. I'm not saying that will happen, but I think the way that governments are behaving at the moment, with again the seizing of assets, whether it's your personal assets or assets of a different sovereign nation, the fact is that they've demonstrated enough already that if something goes wrong, seriously goes wrong, that they will then probably use conscription in order to get you to fight, or whether you want to or not. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure. All of that being said, apologies if my eyes are gazing away. I'm just going to bring up the markets. Going to do a snapshot. I should say that it is about 1 o'clock Eastern on Thursday, the 21st of August. So these are all correct at the time of recording. And again, with Jackson Hole, normally that will have an impact one way or another about who said what and what's likely to happen moving forwards. So these numbers are, again, these are on the weekly charts, by the way, at the moment. So we've got red across the board in the USA, S&P down about 85 points, that's just over 1%. NASDAQ down a couple of percent, about 620 points. Dow Jones down 0.5%, about 223 points at the time of recording. The VIX index, which again measures the volatility of the S&P 500, that's up on the week, sitting at about 16.7. That indicates that market volatility is normal at the moment, to be fair. So that doesn't concern me. We've got the dollar index. Dollar index is creeping up as well. That's at 98.6. Important thing about the dollar index, and I had a subscriber ask me to do this a few weeks ago, and I have started doing it on the newsletter, is the dollar index isn't just the US dollar. So there's other currencies involved. I think the pound, euro, Swiss franc, a couple of others as well. So just because the dollar index goes down, for example, doesn't actually mean it's the US dollar as such. It could also be the trading partners for the USA as well, and vice versa. When the dollar index goes up, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the dollar. It means that it could also be the underlying currencies that work in tandem with the US dollar. So again, thank you for that subscriber for letting me know that that was a good thing to add to that distinction. That being said, yeah, the dollar index is at 98.6 at the moment, so it's up on the week. Looking at commodities, so WTI, so crude oil, that is up so far about 35 cents on the week. Gold is, yeah, gold's doing gold things. It's just hovering. It is around $3,340 at the moment. Again, I'd urge you to have a listen to that podcast episode with Patrick Kareem. He goes in depth at gold and what's going on. He's not bullish at the moment on gold, which I found quite interesting. Silver as well. Silver $38 at the time of recording, ever so slightly up on the week. Again, Patrick goes through that in detail, and again, he's not bullish on silver at the moment. I'm looking at these from a weekly chart, and again, just want to go back to that podcast episode with Patrick Kareem, and the reason that he's not bullish at the moment is he made it very clear that in the long term, so if you're looking at yearly charts, even potentially monthly charts as well, gold and silver paint a very good picture. If you're looking at very far out in terms of longer time frames, when he was looking at the 8-hour charts and the daily charts, and all of his wonderful lines and other things that he uses for his excellent chart analysis, the picture's completely different. The picture is saying that at the moment, there is no low or safe low entry position for gold and silver. Now, I'm going to caveat that and say if you are looking to trade the markets, at the moment, it is probably not a wise idea if you're going to go long, for example. Again, not trade advice, I'm just passing on what he said. But if you are listening to this and you are a stacker or you are a physical gold, physical silver person, ultimately a $100 movement in price in gold, for example, is not going to make a difference to you because you're thinking very long term. So I just want to get that point across. If you're trying to trade the markets and you are thinking, yeah, gold's off to the moon, here we go, I would urge caution on that. And again, Patrick goes through multi-time frame analysis, looks in depth into gold, looks in depth into silver as well. By the way, that oil to silver chart will blow your mind, guaranteed. That will blow your mind. Again, that podcast is available to paid subscribers at the moment. It will become available to free subscribers, I believe, tomorrow at some point in the morning in Mexico, in the afternoon if you're in Europe. But going back to the numbers, yes, gold 3,440 at the moment, 3,340, sorry, silver at 38.10, both ever so slightly up on the week. And again, go back to that Jackson Hole meeting. We normally find that market's a little bit quiet going into Jackson Hole. Maybe they will pick up afterwards. A quick look at platinum and palladium, and we'll wrap up for the week, or we'll wrap up for this video. Platinum up on the week, again, only by $18, up 1.34%. And a quick look at palladium, and that is continuing its march down south. It's down about $6 to be fair on the week, but 0.53%. So it seems to have done a bit of a decoupling from platinum, because platinum and palladium normally work in tandem. That's not a God-given rule. They normally work in tandem, but we've seen certainly in the last few weeks that's not the case. So just in summary, Plan C, Paraguay is up and running. I'll keep you updated on that. We've looked at the markets, a snapshot on Thursday the 21st. We know that the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, i.e. the Fed is there, etc. That meeting is taking place now. That goes on for the next couple of days. I'm sure there'll be a bit of market reaction on Friday. If not, you could see some gaps up and down for the opening on Monday morning or Sunday, depending on where you are in the world. And we will also have possibly a video next week. I'll try and do a couple of written posts again. I am away next week for a wedding, but the end of month wrap with Chris Steadley of Live Sport Commodity Corner, the commodity wrap for the end of August, and the monthly wrap, the market wrap, they will all come out as usual. I put a day or two aside to work on them, so they will still be with you as per normal. Again, podcast with Patrick Cream. I highly recommend you go and check that out. I'll put links to that in the post that comes with this. And also, again, with the episode with the Macro Butler, again, I appreciate all feedback that we get. I don't think we made it sound like we were calling Trump a warmonger, but please do listen to it and do let me know if it comes across as that. That wasn't our intention, and it's not something we believe either. Otherwise, we would have said it. But again, feedback is useful because it will help certainly myself to articulate things in a more coherent manner moving forwards. As usual, thank you for supporting the channel. If you are going to allow me, or please allow me to serve you at a higher level, please do become a paid subscriber. You can, for just $11 a month US, you have access to between 8 to 10 newsletters per month, the mid-month macro, end-of-month macro videos, the commodity wraps, the market wraps as well. You also have early access to all of the expert interview podcasts. They always go out to paid subscribers first before being released to the general public. And again, that's just for $11 a month. If you take an annual plan, I think it works out at about $9.20 a month. That being said, the prices for the Contrarian Capitalist were lowered a few weeks ago in order to make the channel even more competitive. So again, please do allow me to serve you at a higher level. That would be an honor and a privilege to be able to do so. If a paid subscription isn't for you for now, you can always buy me a coffee. Again, that's just again, if that's as a token of gratitude, I highly appreciate that. So thank you very much. Those buttons are going to start appearing in most posts and videos moving forward. And again, thank you very much. And of course, if you're listening to this and you're not even yet a free subscriber to the Contrarian Capitalist, then please do so. You can subscribe for free as well. Any questions, any queries, any thoughts, any comments, I'll either put them below or do send me a DM on Substack, the Contrarian Capitalist. Thank you very much for your time. Have a fantastic week. I'll be back tomorrow with the commodity wrap and, of course, then the market wrap on Sunday. Have a great end to the week. Take care. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being a paid subscriber. Thank you for buying me a coffee. Have a great week. See you soon.